What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 31 of the Bronx and Big Blue Breakdown. I'm your host, Brady Heslin, and today we have a lot to break down for the New York Giants, and we also will have some Yankees and World Baseball Classic talk near the end. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get right into breaking down the New York Giants free agency. First, I'll say I apologize for not getting this out sooner. I had a few things pop up. Just been a little busy. I've had the time to do a lot of research about all the guys that they have signed, for my opinions and create this episode. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start with Isaiah Likely. He is the highest paid free agent that the Giants have signed so far, and I don't think anyone's going to pass him. He signed a 3-year, $40 million deal that puts him number six for all tight ends in the NFL. On the surface, this seems like an overpay if you're looking purely off of stats, but you're banking on his upside and that he's going to get more playing time here with the Giants. With Baltimore, he's been behind Mark Andrews his entire career, but he has shown a ton of flashes. He showed up big time in big moments. I mean, they had the season on the line this year, fourth down, and Lamar Jackson found Isaiah Likely for a first down. I remember back, I believe it was the first game of the season. Isaiah Likely had that touchdown called back because his toe was on the line. I mean, this is a guy that shows up in playoff games. He shows up in primetime games, and that is huge for this Giants team. He has great hands, not a lot of drops, like total opposite from Theo Johnson. He is primarily going to play in the slot. He's not necessarily a true tight end per se, but the Giants are going to get a huge, like the slot is going to look a lot different for the Giants this year when you go from 5'8", 170 Wan'Dale Robinson to the big tight end in Isaiah Likely. I'd expect a lot of two tight end sets with Theo Johnson and Isaiah Likely. If I had to take a guess, if I had to guess who's going to be number two in receiving yards this year behind Malik Neighbors, I would bet Isaiah Likely as of right now. They didn't pay him, over $13 million a year to not, be that guy. Um, I certainly think he's going to compete, obviously, with Theo Johnson for the starting spot. I think both those guys are still going to get a lot of playing time. I could see John Harbaugh, if Isaiah or Theo Johnson is struggling with drops, just pulling Theo Johnson, right then and there, just going with Isaiah Likely, the guy that he can trust with good hands and that kind of thing. So I like this signing. I said that I think the Giants should invest in tight end. We've seen how much Jackson Dart likes throwing to tight ends. I mean, just look at his connection with Theo Johnson last year and how many drops really costed the Giants with Theo and even Daniel Bellinger. So I like this move. It might seem like a little bit of an overpay, but when you're a bad team and you need to upgrade, um, you have to spend some money sometimes, and that is what the Giants did with Isaiah Likely. Next, we have Tremaine Edmunds. He signed a 3-year, $36 million deal. I'm going to start off by saying this is an upgrade over Bobby Okereke. I know some people think, oh, this is just Bobby Okereke 2.0. That's not true. He is a better run defender than Bobby Okereke. He handles offensive linemen, in the run game better than Bobby Okereke did. He's not as quick as he once was. He's 27 right now. He will be 28 in about a month. But he's going into his seventh NFL season, and he has played a lot of games. So he's not quite as quick as he once was. And that's the only thing that, could be concerning about this 3-year deal is we already have started to see a bit of a decline in play with Tremaine Edmunds. But he's a solid run defender. He's not great in coverage, but what he is good at is his ball skills. He has 9 interceptions in the past 3 seasons. I've also seen, people, be like, oh, he has 9 interceptions, but a lot of them are on tip passes or whatever. But you know what? He's out there. He's making a play. He's got good hands. I'm not going to discredit him for doing that. Devin Lloyd only signed a 3-year deal for $45 million. I kind of wish the Giants pursued that younger, just overall better player. But I am happy with the Tremaine Edmunds signing. I mean, they had to do something at linebacker. Before this move, they had Darius Muasau, Swayze Bowman. Those were their linebackers. So I'm glad they made a move. They certainly can still make another move for like a Sonny Styles there at pick number 5. So I'm glad they brought him in. Veteran presence will help the run game a good amount. He's not great in coverage, but he can make up for that with his ball skills. The thing with him is, you drop him back in zone or whatever. He's not really looking at where the receivers are. He's going to watch the quarterback's eyes, and that's where he can make some plays. But he also will give up a lot of completions doing that. So that's my thoughts on Tremaine Edmunds. I'm trying to go fairly quick here because there are a lot of names. And as we get deeper in the offseason, I do team previews and stuff, I'll be talking even more about these guys, especially start learning more information about, the scheme and that kind of thing. But this might be my, longest segment on one player because I'm just so happy with this contract, and that is Jermaine Illuminor. This is an absolute steal of a contract and my favorite signing the Giants have made by far. Illuminor signed a 3-year, $39 million deal. I would have been willing to give him that on a 2-year deal, but to get a 3-year deal out of it, I mean, this is just such a steal. Thomas, Illuminor, they just, you can put either one of those guys on an island against really almost any edge rusher in the league. If you have Myles Garrett on Illuminor, I'm a little worried, but I'm not like, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. Like, there's no way Illuminor can handle that. Like, he is a really solid pass protector. He's not like anything crazy in the run game, but he does his job. And the main thing is there really were not a lot of replacements if they did not bring back Jermaine Illuminor. There was not a lot on the open market. Really, if they didn't bring him back, they would have to draft a tackle at 5, and I don't like when teams handcuff themselves into making moves like that. And this shows that a priority of the Giants is protecting Jackson Dart. And obviously, they didn't bring back Wandale. They didn't bring back Cordell Flott. They had to bring back at least one of those 3 guys. And I am so glad that it is Jermaine Illuminor. You can tell he loves this city. He really cares. If I was John Harbaugh and I was setting captains for, next season, I would do Jackson Dart, Andrew Thomas, and Jermaine Illuminor. Those would be my 3 captains on the offensive side of the ball. That's how much I like Jermaine Illuminor. He's getting paid like an average offensive tackle. Now this has probably shifted now that other guys have signed, but I believe he's the 32nd or 33rd highest paid offensive tackle in the league, and he's like 16th between right tackles. I mean, like that, he's literally getting paid like an average tackle. Yet he's in my opinion, a well above average pass blocker, and he's perfectly fine in the run game. And, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he's a step slower as he gets older, maybe gets hurt or something. They can get out of this deal in 2 years, really no problem. They can save $12 million to cut him after 2 years, only $4 million in dead cap. I'm so happy with this contract. I really am. This is by far my favorite. I think this is one of the steals across the entire NFL. I think Devin Lloyd's contract with a steal. Illuminor certainly has to be up there. I mean, this is just unbelievable value for a guy like Jermaine Illuminor. And the tackle market keeps going up and up and up. And I think 2 years from now we could be looking back on this deal and being like, how did we get Jermaine Illuminor for $13 million a year? I mean, they've gotten back-to-back steals. They signed him for a 2-year, $14 million deal just 2 years ago, and now he's back on a 3-year, $39 million contract. So just so happy with this deal. Yeah, I really can't say it enough. I could talk forever about this, so I'm going to move on now. Let's talk about the all-pro punter that the Giants brought in, Jordan Stout. He signed a 3-year, $12.3 million deal to make him the highest paid punter in the NFL. John Harbaugh is completely rehauling the Giants special teams unit. And this is a huge upgrade on Jimmy Gillen. When I was doing punting research, getting ready for this podcast, in almost every category, Gillen was high 20s to low 30s. Keep in mind, there are 32 teams in the NFL. High 20s, low 30s. I know that's not all his fault. Some of it is, the Gunners or just the special teams unit as a whole. Some of it is Younghoe Koo jamming his foot in the turf and Gillen losing 13 yards on that. But I can't get over that. Like, side topic, but I can't get over that. I mean, every time I think of that play, Like, just kick the ball, dude. Like, you don't want to hurt your field goal percentage, so you let your punter get laid out and use 13 yards. Like, it's whatever. But back to Jordan Stout. Some of his numbers, he averaged over 50 yards a punt last year. That put him fifth in the NFL. And his 44.9-yard net average ranked him first in the NFL. So the Giants have one of, if not the best punter in the league now. And, it's little things like this that make good football teams. I mean, when you can get 50 yards, of field position compared to 35, I mean, that can be huge. I mean, that can be a field goal and not a field goal. That can be a touchdown to a field goal. I mean, it's just, I feel like this is huge, and it, brings some credibility to this unit. And I'm going to keep saying it. You can go back to my preview against the Washington Commanders for week 1 of this past season, and you will see I say in that episode, I talk a lot about special teams, because the past couple of seasons, we have seen multiple games a year where the Giants, they completely lose that game because of the special teams unit. Yes, you can point fingers, one way or another, but there have been multiple games the past couple of years where the Giants have lost almost solely because of their special teams. You look at the Denver game from this past year with Jude McAtomney. Yes, or McAtomney, I don't even remember how to say his name now, but you look at that game right there. Obviously, yes, the defense gave a lot of points in the fourth quarter. If he just makes his extra points, the Giants win that game. Like, no doubt about it. We've seen instances where Jamie Gillen shaking punts in the fourth quarter. Graham Gano, pulls his hammy trying on a kickoff, and the Giants don't have a kicker and they lose to Washington. Like, we have seen multiple games where the Giants, their special teams unit, loses them games. And I really hope that this is a year that does not happen. And if anything, they have an advantage on that side of the ball. And we'll talk a little bit more about special teams for another player coming up. I didn't expect to get on a special teams rant, but next I'll talk about is Greg Newsome. He signed a 1-year, $3 million deal that can go all the way up to $10 million. So a really heavily incentive contract. He's been shaky the past couple of years. There's really no other way around it. He was traded to Jacksonville last year from Cleveland, hoping a change of scenery can help him. It really didn't. He lost playing time. He gave up like over 600 yards last year. I believe it was 5 touchdowns. He wasn't very good. But this is a former first-round pick, a guy with a lot of potential, a lot of upside. We know Denard Wilson, his background is with defensive backs, as a defensive backs coach for the Ravens. So hopefully he can get the most out of Greg Newsome. It's a low-risk, high-reward deal. The thing that worries me, though, is the Giants, they cannot go into next year as with their corners. If you have Paulson Adebo, Greg Newsome, Drew Phillips, like that cannot be your starting group. They have to bring in a guy who can raise the floor of this group. I think he's kind of washed, but I wouldn't hate if they went out and brought in a Marshawn Lattimore or Cam Taylor-Britt or really almost any of the, like a Fabian Moreau type of signing. They need a guy that can come in, be the CB2. He might be past his prime, but he's going to be a smart player. He'll be in the right spot at the right time. Maybe he can help out a Greg Newsome, help out a Drew Phillips, try and get anything out of Deonte Banks. That's what the Giants need with this group, because if they roll in with Adebo, Newsome, Phillips, Banks, those got Art Green, like it has the potential to be a disastrous group. And I don't think they should, go into the draft looking for corners, because corners, they can take a while to, get acclimated to league. Look at Cordell Flott. It took him till year 4 for him to really become an above-average player. The Giants don't have time for that. They need a guy that can come in, raise the floor, and be a CB2. And if Paul Zanino gets hurt, he can be a CB1. He's going to be, he won't be as talented as the guy in front of him at receiver. He'll be a smart player. Maybe get a guy who's got some ball production, or guy that's good in zone, whatever. They've got to bring in somebody else. Sorry for getting off topic with Greg Newsome, but they really just got to bring in someone else to compete and raise the floor. The next one's another one of my favorite signings the Giants have made, and that is Patrick Ricard. He signed a 2-year, $7.63 million contract to make him the highest paid fullback in the league. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2024 first-team All-Pro, 2023 second-team All-Pro. This is going to be a huge help in the run game. I mean, just think about the 6'3", 300-pound Patrick Ricard leading the way for Cam Scadaboo. I mean, these are two guys that are not going to go down. I mean, if the offensive line can have good push on the defensive tackles and defensive ends, and then you've got Patrick Ricard going to the second level, taking out linebackers, and then you've got Scadaboo one-on-one or even one-on-two against a couple corners or a safety, he's not going to go down for that. That's a touchdown every time in my book if he's fully healthy. I mean, it's just the Giants' run game has serious potential to even be in the top 5 this year, in my opinion. I mean, Patrick Ricard, I really cannot, state this enough how much of a help he is going to be. This is not like an Elijah Chapman or even Elijah Penny at fullback. I mean, this is the best fullback in the NFL, hands down. There's really no debate. And the Giants got him. I mean, goal line situations. I mean, the Giants should be almost unstoppable. I mean, follow your blockers inside, follow Ricard, Scadaboo, put your head down. Like I love this move. I love that the Giants finally have an identity and they're sticking by it. And this is a topic for a later date. But if the Giants go Jeremiah Love at 5, I would prefer Downs and I'd prefer Styles as I stand right now on March 15th, 2026. But if they go Love, I can't really debate that. I mean, they're going for the run game, and Jeremiah Love, Cam Scadaboo coming at you all game with Ricard, and if they bring in like a Wyatt Teller and you have Dart in the run game as well, like that is a really, really strong group. So I love the direction they're going with. I love that they brought in Ricard. I thought this was something that was going to happen, and it did, and I'm super excited that it did. And he's going to be a fun guy just to watch. I mean, just look up Patrick Ricard highlights if you're ever bored and just watch this guy go to work. I mean, he really is incredible. Basically another offensive lineman out there who's, pretty agile. So glad Patrick Ricard is on the Giants. Now let's talk about another special teamer. That is Jason Sanders. The Giants signed the former Dolphins kicker to a 1-year veteran minimum. He was an All-Pro in 2020, but he did not kick last year due to injury. Hopefully that's not the trend, but if it is, it's a minimum deal. You still have Ben Sauls. Graham Gano, for whatever reason, is still on the roster. Apparently it's something with a physical or because it was a neck injury, like they can't cut him or whatever. As soon as he's available, get him off the roster. I think that's what's going to happen. But this has a potential to be a really good kicker for the Giants. He was really solid in 2024, obviously all-pro, in 2020. Good percentages. If you look, I'll actually look them up right now. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I know he was around 90% in. Let's see. So he was 90.2%, 37 for 41. He was 92.9% on extra points. His long was 55. This is long as 57. But yeah, so he's been going at 50-plus yarders as well. He's got a big leg. Obviously, the injury thing is, the main concern. But I'd be more concerned if they were only going with Jason Sanders, like what the Giants have had in past years. They have, you've got Graham Gano coming off a hamstring injury, and his only competition is an Irishman who wasn't even the starting kicker at Rutgers, for God's sake. But whatever. So again, the Giants are taking special teams seriously. They're bringing in legit all-pro level specialists. And, my goal for this season is that the special teams unit is an advantage because Jason Sanders, when healthy, is an advantage at kicker. Stout is an advantage at punter. Gunnar Olszewski is an advantage in the return game. Even Deonte Banks can be an advantage in the return game. So, dare I say, I'm kind of excited for this special teams unit. Normally, I am scared to death just looking at Graham Gano, Jamie Gillen, and whoever they got returning kicks. I mean, they had Adoree Jackson back there at one point. He got hurt doing that, of course. Eric Gray used to not be able to catch anything, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to this little kicker battle that we'll have in training camp between Sanders and Sauls. I think, barring anything ridiculous, Sanders will win the job, and hopefully they can keep Sauls on the practice squad in case of an injury or whatever. But I am I'm happy with that. I mean, super cheap deal, and he's got good potential. So now we're going to talk about three wide receivers. The first one, it's actually not a bad thing that I waited to do this episode because this signing came out last night. The Giants signed Darnell Mooney to a one-year deal worth up to $10 million. He had over 1,000 yards in 2021 when his head coach was now Giants offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. How I view the Giants' moves so far at wide receiver, it kind of feels like just get me through the year, competent enough kind of moves. And we'll talk about Calvin Austin after this. But, I don't think anyone is going to be like, ugh, like Darnell Mooney, wide receiver too. Whereas they talk about like Darius Slayton, then you're like, oof. But Darnell Mooney, I think he's a solid wide receiver too. I mean, last year he was only 32 for 443 and a touchdown, but it came out after he was playing through an injury. The year prior, though, he was 64 for 992 and 5 touchdowns. Also wasn't great quarterback play last year with Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins. Jackson Dart should be a big upgrade over that. Obviously, Nagy also knows how to get the best out of Darnell Mooney. And again, it's up to $10 million. I like that the Giants are having some like incentives in a lot of their deals. So I'm excited for Mooney as well. I think the Giants, obviously Neighbors is a superstar, and then you've got Mooney, Austin, Slayton. I mean, that's not an awful group. Maybe try and bring in one more, or like you could take a flyer on a guy in the 5th round. I wouldn't hate something like that. I don't think the room is complete by any means, but with Austin and Mooney having 1-year deals, I think they'll look to make more of a splash at wide receiver next offseason. We also get to see how Neighbors looks a year coming off the injury. So we also can talk about Calvin Austin, 1 year, $1.5 million up to $4.5 million. I think this is really good value. They need a slot wide receiver, even though they're planning to play likely in the slot. You still want to get a guy to be the slot receiver. Calvin Austin, also, he can play outside. He's about similar size to Wan'Dale Robinson. Honestly, if you wanted to call Calvin Austin Temu or Walmart Wan'Dale Robinson, I understand that comparison. The big difference between Wan'Dale and Calvin Austin is Wan'Dale's more physical. He's able to fight through more tackles, where Austin's kind of one hit and done. But Calvin Austin is faster than Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale's more like a quick, agile guy. Austin's got more straight line speed. He was 31 for 372, 31 for 372 and 3 touchdowns last year, 36 for 548 and 4 touchdowns in 2024. He also can return punts, so if Gunnar Olszewski goes down or something, he should be able to slot in there and don't have to throw at Javon Holland. You're starting safety back there to return punts, but yeah, I think the Giants are doing the best that they could with this receiver room. There wasn't really a clear answer, and I said this when they let in the free agency preview pod when I talked about Wan'Dale Robinson, is that there wasn't really a clear answer if you let him go, but I think they've done about as good as you can with the guys that were available. And the last guy is Isaiah Hodgins. He signed a 1-year deal for the veteran minimum. He's a great backup receiver. He worked better with Jameis than he did Jackson Dart, but he's a guy you can trust. He'll be in the right spot at the right time. He's got good hands. He doesn't have great speed, but he's a fine route runner, can be good in the red zone. And I think he's a guy that you can cut, out of training camp and probably sneak back onto the practice squad. I mean, we saw he had, some really good years with the Giants, and then he spent some time with San Francisco. But last year he was on the Steelers practice squad, and I was like pounding the table all year, like sign Isaiah Hodgins, sign Isaiah Hodgins, sign Isaiah Hodgins, especially after Malik Neighbors got injured. But glad he's back, reliable player. Better than Jalen Hyatt, who hopefully gets cut at some point. The next guy is Micah McFadden. He signed a 1-year, $3.75 million deal that can go up to $5.75 million. It's a cheap deal, and he can be a fringe starter. Prove-it deal for him. It's said that he had more money to go to a different team. I don't know if I necessarily believe that because I think this is a pretty decent offer for what he's worth. He's good in the run game, not good in the pass game. You see him, coming off the field a lot on third downs, being good on first and second downs. He had double-digit TFLs in 2024. Obviously, barely played last year with the Lisfranc injury. Ideally, you want him to be your first backup linebacker and a guy that can come in on first and second down. But I'm glad he's back. Hopefully he plays well and he can earn himself more money next year. Um, he's a guy that I feel like we've seen consistently improve, year to year. So hopefully he can, stay on that trajectory despite the injury last year. Just a couple more guys. I know there's a lot of names here, but I'm trying to get through it. I'm going to talk about Darius Washington, 1 year, $3 million. Good safety depth. He replaces Dane Belton, um, another former Raven. So I like that. The Giants also signed another safety. I didn't even have this in my notes. I just thought of it when I saw, the safety. Giants re-signed Jason Pinnock. That's a fun signing. He is definitely better than Dane Belton. Um, we saw him again. He felt like he improved a lot with his time in the Giants. Originally, he was with San Francisco last year. He had that nice pick six against the Dolphins. Again, glad he's back. Good safety depth. We know what he can do, and yeah, I'd say he's an upgrade over Dane Belton. I haven't seen the details, but I'd expect it to be cheaper than I believe it was the 4.5 million that Dane Belton got. So yeah, glad he's back. Aaron Stinney, 1 year deal, good guard depth. He'll likely be the first guard off the bench, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Art Green, special teamer, minimum deal. He played a pretty significant role last year for the Giants in special teams, so happy he's back. And now the last guy that I will talk about that the Giants signed is none other than stance change first, Evan Neal. I read this and I thought it was a joke. Like I went to three different accounts before I was like, okay, they actually signed him. And then I called my dad and I was like, you are not going to believe who the Giants just re-signed. Like this makes no sense for either side. I mean, this shows that he had absolutely zero market. And the funniest thing is I've been seeing these graphics and stuff. It is a 1 year, $1.3 million deal with zero in guaranteed money. I mean, this guy's basically working for free to be on the Giants. I mean, it's unbelievable. I fully expect him to get cut in August. It feels like we're kind of just wasting time with him on the roster. I mean, I just see no way he makes a team. I mean, he couldn't even get on the field for field goal block or punt block. Like he is just man, I can't believe it. The memes live on with Evan Neal. I can't believe another team didn't take a flyer on him for give him 1 year, 1.5 million with 200K guaranteed, and he would have taken that, over what the Giants gave him. Um, it's it's crazy. I can't believe it. If John Harbaugh somehow finds a way to make Evan Neal even a serviceable player, like even if Evan Neal can develop into a swing tackle, might have to build him a statue because Evan Neal is probably the worst bust in Giants. I mean, is it crazy to say he's the worst bust in Giants history? I mean, I'm 17, so I've only experienced a small fraction of Giants history, but in my lifetime, for sure. I mean, I think he's a bigger bust than Eric Flowers, Eli Apple. And I'm talking about like guys like first round picks, like guys at the top there. Um, yeah, cannot believe he's back. We can talk briefly about the guys the Giants lost. The first of which being Wan'Dale Robinson. He got 4 years, $78 million. The Giants were just never going to give him that deal. I'm fine the Giants weren't going to do that. I mean, that's a lot of money for a slot receiver, and I don't think the slot receiver, or at least a slot receiver built like Wan'Dale, would have nearly as much of a role as he does in an offense, with Brian Dable. Brian Dable offenses are probably the most reliant on slot receivers than like any team in the NFL. So it's a perfect fit for both sides. Titans had a lot of money. I'm rooting for Wan'Dale. Yeah, that's really all I got. The next guy is Cordell Flott. 3 years, $45 million. Again, I just don't think the Giants are going to go to $15 million for Cordell Flott, and I think it makes sense for the Titans. They have a lot of money. Throw money at this young corner. Hopefully, he continues to ascend. And you've got yourself a good corner on a fairly team-friendly deal if that happens. But again, I'm fine with the Giants not going in that direction. But they've got to make more moves at corner. That they have to. They really cannot go into next year with the guys that they have now. Next up, Daniel Bellinger, 3 years, 24 million for Daniel Bellinger. Now, this is one where I'm like, this is ridiculous. I mean, whoever his agent is did a phenomenal job. I cannot believe he got $8 million a year, and that makes the Isaiah Likely contract look a lot better. Just crazy. I mean, he's a fine player, but he's not a tight end one. I think he's a fine tight end two, but $8 million. And the crazy thing is Dable like didn't really use him that much. Like, and now he's bringing him to Tennessee for $8 million a year. Like, whoa, his playing time went down from his rookie year. I mean, the only year he started was his rookie season, and they literally drafted Theo Johnson to replace him. So it's like, why are you throwing $8 million at Daniel Bellinger? It really makes no sense. But if the Giants signed Daniel Bellinger for that contract, I would have been like, this is ridiculous. Like, that's way too much money. Um, so I'm totally fine with that. Dean Belton got 1 year, 4.5 million to the Jets. Again, fine letting him go. I think Jason Pinnock and Ardarius Washington are, two, great options to replace him. He did play a pretty big role on special teams, so we'll see, what the Giants do to, replace that. But, good luck with the Jets. Austin Schlottman got 2 years, 9 million. That's pretty pricey for me for a backup center. He was solid when called upon, and again, he's going to the Titans, so Brian Dable just taking everyone. The last guy is Casey Kreider. He signed a 1 year deal. I'm assuming it's probably the minimum with the Cardinals. Kind of sucks to see him go. I mean, he's been the long snapper for a while now, but John Harbaugh clearly wants to get his own specialists onto this team. So it's about like a 30-minute recap of Giants free agency. Obviously, if they make any other moves, like they need to go get a guard, they need to address corner, defensive tackle. We even talked about they got to go get some defensive tackles. So when they do that, obviously I'll be talking about it, on this podcast. We now can transition to the Yankees. I just have some stats here. So the Yankees currently sit at 13-9. They've been on a little bit of a skid. They've also lost a lot of guys to the World Baseball Classic. I did these stats yesterday, so they should be up to date. I checked this morning; they looked good. But Jason Dominguez is 11 for 33 with 3 homers. Spencer Jones is 8 for 24 with 4 homers, 8 strikeouts. He was sent down. Ben Rice 7 for 25 and a homer. Max Schumann is 6 for 17. He's a guy that I think is a dark horse to make this roster, so I wanted to point him out. George Lombard Jr. struggled a bit. He was 5 for 27 with 11 strikeouts, and he was reassigned. I'm not really concerned. We all knew that he was not major league ready, and hopefully, the Yankees don't make the same mistake that they did with Anthony Volpe, where they kind of rushed him to the majors, and you could just tell pretty quickly that he really was not ready for that level. I want to look at some pitching numbers here, but yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the Yankees. I don't have a ton of stuff planned, but I also want to talk about the World Baseball Classic because, man, that has just been super fun, to watch. So, geez, I can't find the right. Here we go. Sorry, I should have pulled this up beforehand, but so Will Warren leads the Yankees with 16 and a third innings pitched. He's looked really solid, and I talked about him a lot in the last episode, so you can go check that out if you want. But I think he's a pretty underrated player for the Yankees going into this year. I think he's a guy a lot of people are sleeping on and have kind of forgotten about, but he can really be a pivotal part of this rotation. Paul Blackburn is next up, and he's looked solid as well, only giving up 2 earned runs in 12 and a third innings. Luis Gil, he's got decent numbers, but he's looked shakier in my opinion than the numbers look. His velo is not quite where you may want it to be. And it's still early on, and we'll kind of just have to see with him how he looks in the regular season. Carlos Agrande is disgusting, and we kind of know that. I'm super excited for him and his future. Max Fried. I'm not going to take a ton of stock in the 9 innings of work. He's given up 4 earned in 9 innings, so obviously not really up to Max Fried standards. But again, it's spring training, 9 innings, not going to take a lot of stock. Ryan Weathers, one I'm a little worried about. In 9 of the third innings, he's given up 15 hits, 9 earned runs, only one homer. Um, but hopefully he can settle in once the season begins, and play up to his potential. Jake Bird's a guy I think could make the bullpen. He's got a 3.68 ERA. Chivilli's not looked good. He's given up 11 earned in 6 and 2/3. I think he's a guy. He'll send him kind of like what they did with Jake Bird last year. Send him to the minors, let him work on a few things, then bring him up probably mid-season. I think that's what they'll do. Winquest 6 1/3, 4 earned runs, and then the rest of the guys don't have a ton of innings. And yeah, once the World Baseball Classic is over, I'm going to go through all the stats for all the guys that were in that. But yeah, let's kind of talk about the World Baseball Classic a little bit, and then I will wrap up this episode. I'm already over half an hour, but I mean, just what an electric, tournament this has been. And it's just been huge for baseball. I mean, some of these social media posts have been getting a ton of views, and I've seen people that aren't even baseball fans that are like, how can the NBA and how can the NFL recreate, this atmosphere that the World Baseball Classic has created? I mean, that Wilyer Abreu home run yesterday. I mean, I was sitting on my couch just watching it. I mean, I'm not, a fan of Japan. I'm not like from Venezuela, obviously, whatever. I'm rooting for the U.S. But like that got me fired up. I mean, fastball up, he just freaking just drills it into the second deck in right field. Huge bat flip. Guys are, coming out of the dugout. I mean, it's an electric atmosphere. And the fact that you get this in March and then you've got the full season in front of you, I mean, it's just so, so exciting. And I mean, the Dominican Republic has been a super exciting team to watch as well. I mean, that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. slide. I mean, I'm a Yankees fan. I don't like the Blue Jays. I don't really like Vladdy. But if that doesn't get you fired up, I mean, I don't know what does. I mean, the dude dove about a quarter of the way of the baseline and was safe. I mean, the Juan Soto, swim move, slide was incredible. Really, the one team that I feel like that's lacking this, like this aura and like just the energy is the U.S. Like, I feel like they're kind of lacking that. I think they're playing really reserved, and as much as they say that they do, I don't think that they really care as much as a lot of these other countries. And if I was a betting man, I don't think I would bet the U.S. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully Judge and his team can win. But I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, to be honest, of the U.S. And I mean, we haven't talked about Italy yet. I mean, Vinny Pasquantino knocking off the U.S. and they are currently undefeated as I record this. Michael Lorenzen just shut down the Team USA lineup. It's just been so exciting to watch. If you haven't tuned in at all, please tune in. The U.S. plays the Dominican Republic in about 3 hours as I record this. So just a super exciting tournament. Again, when it's all said and done, I'm going to go through some of the stats and compile the numbers for the guys on the Yankees that played in it. Yeah, just a super exciting tournament. I would love if the MLB could find a way to get these guys to be able to play in the Olympics. Hockey's found a way to do it, so I'd love if baseball could as well, just because this atmosphere is it's so much fun. So, yeah, I think that's all I really got for this episode. The Giants stuff obviously took a while, but I tried to sprinkle some Yankees and World Baseball Classic stuff in there. Again, I apologize for the late episode. Baseball started for me this week, and I've just been busy, school and whatnot. And I wanted to compile a lot of research for all of the players the Giants signed and some other notable things. So, yeah, I'm not totally sure when the next episode's going to be. It won't be Monday or Tuesday, with me not posting this until Sunday. We'll see if the Giants do anything notable. I may take the rest of the week off. We'll see. But again, just follow me on all my social medias. I'll post updates there. But until next time, let's go Yankees and let's go Giants.